Hi, in this session, we are going to see how we can deploy the virtual machines in the Azure cloud environment. Okay, for that, we have to go to the portal.azure.com, and you need to also create one free account with azure.portal.com. I will create a separate video how you can create the new account with portal.azure.com. So I already have created, so it took me to the home page. So if I go to the subscription here, so yeah, I have elevated to pay as you go. So because when I use a free trial, some of the features I would not be able to avail, so I have elevated to pay as you go subscription. So let's create a virtual machine. Select for the virtual machine. So I want to deploy the commserve machine inside a virtual machine. So for that, I'm deploying the virtual machine, Azure virtual machine. Okay, so now here we are in the create virtual machine page, subscription, pay as you go, and the resource group I don't have anything, so I'll create a new one. I'll give something with the name commcell environment, commcell environment. Okay, so I'll give the name of the virtual machine as commserve, and region, whichever the region is near for you, you can select that region so that to avoid any latency to access the resources. And security type default should be okay. And image, I'm going to select for commserve, one of the compatibility operating system is Windows Server 2022. I'm going to select that, and size, I need minimum 4 vCPU and 16 GB RAM. So I'm selecting the type standard D4 SV3. Okay, user, I'll create something with the name CV admin, and password, I will define the password as per the rules. And inbound port, it should be okay. RDP 3389. I need to access through RDP, so I need that port open. Next, go to the disk section. So Azure is given by default 127 GB operating system disk, so that should be fine. And I'll go to the networking section. So in the virtual network, by default, it has created one, the name commserve vnet. So I'm okay with that. In the subnet, yeah, by default should be okay. And I need a public IP also, so I'm selecting all the default options. Next, go to the management section. So I don't have to define anything. Let's go with the default options. Again, the default options. Again, the default option. Review and create. Okay, it does a validation, and you can see here uh, for deploying this D4 SV3, you should accept this, right? So it might incur you some charges like 40 Indian rupees per hour. So I'm okay with that. I'm going, so because I want to deploy for testing or lab purpose, for practice purpose, I'm okay with that. I'll go ahead and create it. So this charge is incurred when the VM is running. If you're not using the VM, you have to keep the VM in the stop state. I'll show you how you can do that. So now the deployment is in the progress. So let's wait for the deployment to complete. I'm pausing the video for a short time. Okay, now we are back. So the deployment is completed. Now I'll go to the resource section. So it will route me to the virtual machine properties. So as you can see here, it created a virtual machine and it provided you the public IP address and the private IP address. So yeah, so before even accessing the virtual machine, what I want is I wanted to ensure that the static IP is, sorry, the private IP address is not dynamic. It should be static. So for that, what I need to do, I need to go to the in the left hand side. You can see the networking section. If you are not able to see this, what you have to do is that you go to that left corner, and there is two arrow mark pointing toward the right side. Click on that, then you'll find the network section, and here you have a network setting. So click on the network setting for that virtual machine, and here you see the network interface. So click on the network interface, and now go to the IP config. Over here, select the static. So I want to keep that IP, private IP static. So click save. So it will give the notification over here. So it is updating the network interface. So let's wait for a few seconds. Yep, it completed in few seconds. So now you can see here the private IP address changed to static. I'll tell you the reason where I'll tell you where exactly we'll be using the private IP address. So for now, go back again to the virtual machine. Again home, and again navigate to the virtual machine. So now I wanted to connect to this virtual machine. If you are not sure how to, navigate to the virtual machine, if you are lost somewhere in the navigation path, simply go to the home, and here search for virtual machine. Once you search for the virtual machine, then it will display whatever the virtual machine you are having in the environment, right? So I want to access the virtual machine through RDP. So click on that virtual machine. There is a connect tab, so you can connect it. Download the RDP file. Click on that. Say connect. So you can see by default it picked the CV admin user and the public IP address, right? So whatever the IP address that is created when the VM is deployed, so that is the public IP address. So if I want to access this virtual machine from my personal laptop, you need to use a public IP address and then RDP. So CV admin user password, the one which I created at the time of the configuration or deployment. Okay, this is a warning, say yes. Yeah, that's it. So the virtual machine is now ready. Now the next step should be, there are some prerequisite before you even install the Commvault software in the virtual machine. So I wanted to install the Commvault software here and configure it as a commserve machine. Okay, so let's wait for the settings to get loaded. And so once you log in, you need to do one thing. Since it is for our lab environment, for practice purpose, I would advise, let's say yes for it, disabling the firewall. Okay, for that, go into the search and then search for the firewall and network protection. So once that window opens, what you need to do, simply keep all the network offline, like the public network, private network. Ensure that they show in the offline. The firewall on the private public network should be off. So you can see only one is remaining, the domain. So just keep even the domain also in the offline. So that's it. If you want to see the IP address of the machine, search for cmd and write command prompt and run the command ip config. Yeah, this is IP, private IP address. Okay, so I will end the video. In the next video, I'll show you how you can deploy another virtual machine for installing the media agent.